think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me.
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Other guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Terence Crawford fired back with confidence at Floyd Mayweather's recent remarks. Crawford declared that he would have beaten Mayweather even during Floyd's prime years. He added that his legacy will stand on the fact that he never turned down a challenge. According to Crawford, no one can accuse him of avoiding opponents since he has always faced whoever was willing to step into the ring. He also suggested that if a fight with Mayweather ever became possible, he wouldn't shy away from it either.
Started going like this, and then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Dan Raphael believes Terence Crawford has already reached a stage in his career where fighting again isn't required to secure his place in history. He highlights that Crawford's body of work, clearing out divisions, unifying championships, and dominating top-level opponents without showing vulnerabilities speaks for itself. Raphael emphasizes that at this point, Crawford's focus should shift from proving himself to preserving his legacy and embracing the recognition he has earned. In his view, Crawford's resume has already gone beyond expectations, and pursuing extra fights would add little to his historical standing. Instead, the dominance Crawford has displayed in recent years is more than enough to guarantee his status as one of the sport's all-time greats.
Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that ultimate chance if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quite. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fan. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy is really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, fight of the year against Lester Martinez.
Terence Crawford's emphatic dismantling of Canelo Alvarez has ignited passionate debate across the boxing world. Fans and analysts immediately began drawing comparisons to Floyd Mayweather's earlier victory over Canelo. The distinction is clear. Mayweather defeated a younger, less experienced version of the Mexican star, while Crawford dominated a far more seasoned and accomplished Canelo. This contrast has led some to question whether Crawford's achievement should rank above Mayweather's. Still, Luke Thomas urges caution in making that leap. He points out that Crawford's career peaked later, largely due to limited promotion and delayed recognition, while Mayweather had already established himself as a global superstar at a much younger age by consistently facing elite opponents early on. For that reason, Thomas argues that even if Crawford's win over Canelo appeared more dominant, it doesn't automatically elevate him above Mayweather in the historical conversation. because timing, context, and career trajectory remain critical factors when making such comparisons.
This was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao, because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there. It's just insane.
Buddy McGirt emerged as one of Terence Crawford's strongest supporters after the Canelo fight, calling the performance nothing short of domination. In McGirt's view, Crawford seized control from the opening bell, never giving Canelo the chance to dictate the tempo or unleash his trademark aggression. He stressed that the victory was so decisive there's no need to even consider a rematch. The difference in skill and execution was undeniable. McGirt went on to say that Crawford has finally achieved the legacy-defining moment he's been chasing for years by conquering a fighter of Canelo's caliber. With this victory, Crawford now owns a signature, when that validates his greatness in the eyes of both fans and historians. To McGirt, there's nothing left for Crawford to prove. He's written his chapter, and the decisive triumph over Canelo will forever stand as proof of his place among boxing's legends.
Right. I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is, and you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, nah, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those gold cards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, you know, he did mention that, you know, he's better than Mayweather. But I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, you know, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, you know, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. You know what I mean? He's fought everybody, he's did everything, but you know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fan square, and he passed the torch. So, if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. You know, he fought Terence and nobody else would.
When comparing Terence Crawford to Floyd Mayweather, many analysts highlight the mental dimension of Floyd's game as the defining factor that sets him apart. While Crawford is widely praised for his technical brilliance, his ability to switch stances, make mid-fight adjustments, and systematically break down opponents, critics argue that Mayweather carried an additional weapon, psychological dominance. Mayweather didn't just outbox his rivals physically, he controlled them mentally, pushing opponents into mistakes and forcing them to abandon their game plans. This aura of psychological warfare, both before and during the fight, is often cited as the edge that elevated Floyd above even the most skilled fighters. The comparison underscores just how close Crawford has come to being ranked alongside Mayweather. Yet, for many historians, it's Floyd's unmatched mental control that preserves his place on a slightly higher tier.
Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, like I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
RC.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years. But no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And
For more than a decade, Terence Crawford displayed world-class skill, yet his quiet personality and refusal to embrace flamboyance kept him under the radar. Unlike fighters who thrive on trash talk and theatrics, Crawford chose to let his work inside the ropes do the talking. This earned him admiration from boxing purists, but limited his mainstream visibility during the early stages of his career. Only after landmark victories over Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez has the wider public truly begun to acknowledge his greatness. Still, some critics suggest this recognition has come too late. At this stage, Crawford is closer to the end of his career than the beginning. While he may continue adding to his resume, the window for building a long-lasting mainstream legacy is narrowing, leaving many to wonder how differently his career might have been perceived if he had received the spotlight much earlier.
Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated.
Floyd Mayweather has often faced criticism for his reluctance to acknowledge other legends, most notably refusing to concede that Muhammad Ali, regarded by many as the greatest of all time, stands above him. Now, with Terence Crawford achieving milestones that put him on similar ground, questions surrounding Floyd's ego have resurfaced that Crawford's commanding victory over Canelo Alvarez has fueled conversations about placing him in the same historical tier as Mayweather. For someone as fiercely protective of his legacy as Floyd, this is not easy to accept. Critics argue that Mayweather thrives on being seen as the singular benchmark of boxing excellence, and when another fighter begins to occupy that space, it threatens his pride. This perception of jealousy creates the impression that Floyd struggles with the idea of anyone being celebrated at his level, adding a layer of tension to how he responds publicly to Crawford's rise.
With Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in a
candid conversation with Sean Porter. Terence Crawford opened up about the driving force behind his toughest challenges. For years, critics insisted he wasn't capable of competing at the sport's highest level. Instead of shying away from the pressure, Crawford embraced it, seeking out every opportunity to prove them wrong. His triumphs over Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez stand as more than just career-defining wins. For Crawford, they are personal vindications, decisive answers to the doubt and dismissal he carried throughout his journey.
You want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry. I know this is bad production, but we don't need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Haiti right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant, go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, but want to be great. Where that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top. And then
Sean Porter emphasized that Crawford's willingness to confront adversity head-on reveals a mentality unlike most fighters. While others might choose easier routes, Crawford deliberately sought out the toughest challenges, determined to prove he belonged among the very best. According to Porter, this mindset is what has elevated Crawford into the all-time great conversation. His legacy won't be defined by talent alone, but also by the resilience and determination that have shaped his entire career.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best fit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd, then I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is who I seen. I seen Bud. I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stamped your legacy and we're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person, you could beat that person? You feel like you did it?
Of course. It's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books. Yeah. Like, before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that, but hold on. Yeah.
I don't pick up.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proving himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey man, how do you allow people not to put their limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told him about like how you motivated me to start my own company. And come out, I remember you been in my living in my kitchen motivated me to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on Terrence Crawford?